All right, guys, here we go. We are back with another cycle overview with our next Mayhem Athletes cycle. It is going to be Nerves of Steel. We've been on the end of the storm cycle for basically all of September leading into October. So right now we're going to finish that up, and then end of October, that first week of November, we're rocking into this Nerves of Steel cycle. We've been doing these overview podcasts just to give you guys an idea what the cycle is going to look like. We'll get pretty nitty-gritty in there with some of the details so you know what's coming. We can get maybe either excited or not excited for, and then just what it'll look like week to week so you can join on in with us in that. Talk about like the overall why behind it, length, what the Metcons will be like week to week, what your strength is going to lay out, going to be where the gymnastics will fit in, and then our aerobic progression that Henshaw's got us on as well. After that, we'll just kind of talk through some ideas behind that, how we approach training this time of the year, how Rich did in the past and does now, and finish up with some personalization, individualized. Foster will help us out, think through like what if you're a client that needs this or this instead based on what type of athlete you are. But this Nerves of Steel cycle is 8 weeks, like I said. It'll carry us through basically right into Christmas. Christmas, we like to take off, do some deloads, transition. You know, people travel, and we'll gear up right for the new year. We're really just continuing to build upon the foundation we laid this summer with our Hulk out cycle. That was a lot longer, 15, 16 week. This last 8 weeks with Into the Storm, getting a little bit closer to the season. So this one will like start to gear more towards what we'll see this year, build in on that top end strength, keep working on gymnastics, and then time domains will come down as intensity increases. What we like to do with our Metcons, usually throughout the year, and this one included, is keep a certain theme. A couple of days a week that are consistent, and then the other days we'll rotate through different styles of workouts that you'll see. So what that will look like on this one will be every Wednesday we're going to do something a little bit different. We've done it before where we test and retest a workout. It's just this one's going to be a lot worse than normal, but hopefully it'll translate to something you'll be able to see in the open or quarterfinals. What we're doing is that quarterfinal workout that everyone loved to hate of 3 rounds of 50 wall balls and 50 burpee box jump overs.
I didn't do that.
Didn't do that?
No.
None of us did it. So
Absolutely not.
thinking about doing it.
Why?
I'm not going to do it.
No.
Solidarity.
I'm going to help other people do it.
I've suffered enough in my life. I don't
That's
need to
true.
suffer anymore.
I watched
Something
a lot
like
of people
that.
do it. It was easily the worst one of quarterfinals from what I saw,
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah.
It's boring.
It is just so boring. It's Karen snuck in there, and honestly, it's not even the worst part. The
No,
150
it's
burpee box
150
jumpers.
burpee box jump overs.
So we were talking through like what workout could we do to test, retest. I know Foster was helping some and Dom, and we thought, well, this is one that you just see that squat push in the open and quarterfinals for sure.
Blame this one on Dom.
Yeah, this one's Dom.
This is
We can
Dom's
blame
fault.
Dom on this.
Yeah.
So you can think about Dom the whole time you do this. If you don't know Dom, you can just learn to hate Dom without knowing him. But you're going to see wall balls. You're going to see thrusters. So that's going to translate. You're going to see longer workouts. See a lot of burpees. Sometimes burpees with jumping, or that's burpee over bar, burpee box jump over, burpee with double unders in the workout. And then it's really big sets, which is what really makes this workout suck, with a longer time domain. But it's going to test that upper muscular endurance along with the lower muscular endurance, your aerobic fitness, then just how long you can hang on to these bigger sets. So we won't just do burpees and wall balls every single week, just smash you in straight through. Some weeks will be burpees and wall balls together. Some weeks will be a push with a jump and maybe a machine with recovery, maybe a different variation of wall ball or squat with a bike to teach you to recover while do some intense sets of those. So we'll build on that each week, and then we'll retest it at the end. If you're like, I hated that workout, I'm not retesting it, or I'm only going to do it once, the first week we'll have a different variation to tee you up for it so you don't have to do that workout twice. It'll still be a similar stimulus to let you get going on that to feel what it's going to be like, but it'll be some AMRAP of burpees, rest, AMRAP of wall balls, and we'll accumulate a lot of reps on that. So that's Wednesday. On Friday, we're going to keep going with our classic CrossFit. This will just be like 8 to 12 minute AMRAPs or that time domain, 4 time. Week 2 is a good example. It's a repeat. It's going to be a 9-minute AMRAP of squat cleans at 155, 105, and wall walks. It'll start out at low reps and ascend in reps every single round. We did that one then, so if you're with us last October, you can see if you can improve that score. Go like 3 squat clean, 1 wall walk, 3, 2, 3, 3. Then it goes up to 6 squat cleans, 4 wall walks, 6 squat cleans, 5 wall walks, and so on. So quick singles in that squat clean at moderate weight and just moving on the wall walks. Other weeks will kind of be like we have on week 1. Just back and forth, 1-to-1 intervals. This is biking for calories, dumbbell cleans, and then handstand push-ups. Back and forth, maybe 2 to 3 minutes in those intervals. wrestling one-to-one, tagging it out with the partners, classic Mayhem style workout. So you keep intensity, unbroken sets, and stay moving. So that means Monday, Tuesday, and Saturday will vary what we're doing. We have 6 or 7 types that are in there. This might be things from mono intervals, so like rowing, longer, shorter distances with intended stimuluses and efforts on that. Might be what we're calling mixed aerobic work. So this would just be like classic CrossFit couplets, triplets. You're staying moving for unbroken sets and reps for 4 to 5 minutes. So week 1 is 3 rounds, 12 GHD sit-ups, shorter distant lunge, and then 30 to 40 double unders. So you just cycle through that 2-3 rounds, rest, and repeat that. So it's allowing you to stay unbroken, get some good aerobic work in. It might be like gassy feeling that you can move through steady, and with the built-in rest so that you can accumulate work in that type of stimulus, but with the CrossFit style movements. We'll have some longer workouts where it might be like a bottleneck. I know later in November we have Chad teed up for you guys. We'll do that on Veterans Day to honor our veterans. And we just got to do Chad every single year, that long grinder. I will have longer on the minute style workouts, maybe every 90 seconds. You're working through a machine, rest, and some gymnastic, big unbroken sets, then some barbell work, then maybe some high skilled or another machine, going through that 20, 30 minutes. And then there'll be days there'll be big gymnastic focus with maybe machine, unbroken sets on gymnastics for intervals. Another one a couple weeks in is powerlifting battery. We're going to keep touching on this. We did last cycle. This might just be something like this one will be heavy round of DT and some rope climbs, going back and forth in between that to change up the stimulus from something gymnastic. But really that limiter in the workout is going to be how well can you move that DT, deadlift, hang power clean, and shoulder overhead at a heavier weight in the workout itself. As we get to the season, that's really going to be something we'll see at some point. How can you move a heavy barbell in the workout? Strength itself is going to be really likely the biggest focus this cycle, unless you're just already a super strong athlete. The foundation of it is going to be squats. We did this one, I was telling Rich, in 2021. It was one of our first Mayhem Burgener strength cycles. The foundation of this one, it's really sets of 3 reps on the front squat, back squat, front squat on Monday and Friday. So you'll get in, one of the first things you'll do that day, if you want to start with the strength, will be, if you're going Burgener strength track, it's 10 sets of 3 back squat, 5 sets of 3 front squat. On Compete and a lot of the other tracks, we'll keep it 5 sets of both just to make it so we aren't completely burying you guys. We'll give a range of those reps every week, percentage. So it'll be 5x3, 5x3. We'll start with a lower sustainable percentage, and every week we want you guys adding 2 to 3% on those lifts so that by the end you're at a really, really tough percentage, a higher percentage, probably high 80%, low 90%. And then we'll test the 1RM at the end of this. So that strength portion is going to take a long time on Monday, Friday. Make sure you get plenty warm up to that weight. You might have to belt up for this cycle. Use the knee sleeves. This is going to be the toughest squat strength cycle of the year. We do this at this time as we head in the new year to get that top end squat as high as we can, so we're at a confident place going into the new year with that. So just make sure you know what type of athlete you are. If you've been doing strength cycles for years, you're going to need to start at a lower percentage on that strength. There'll be a 5% range. Week 1, for example, is 70-75% on the back squats and 75 to 80% on the front squats. So if that already looks intimidating, you start on that lower end and bump up a little bit each week with the ranges we give. If you're like, I feel great, I haven't done a ton of squat cycles, you can start on that top end and add 3 to 4% every week, and you'll probably hang on with that. Monday and Friday will look the same with that, with the sets and reps and percentages, and that's on purpose to get you that volume, but at opposite ends of the week.
Coughing, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I held it in. I thought we had a little while, but
on Monday, Friday as well, we'll get some Olympic lifting work. Monday will be that snatch percentage work. Friday we'll touch some top end power Olympic work, maybe heavy power snatch or heavy power clean. Get 10 to 12 minutes, establish a heavy double, triple, or single. And then after that, you'll work into a percentage of that for a rep every 30 seconds for 10 minutes. So it might be, hey, today we work up to a heavy double power clean. Right after that, drop down to 75 to 80% of that heavy, hit 1 rep every 30 seconds for 10 minutes. So we'll hit that top end, then we'll move that heavier barbell, start to get comfortable under a high percentage load for that barbell cycling, touching that to make sure we are able to move a high end load for those lifts. Tuesday, we'll start with jerk primer every Tuesday, and then we'll work into some type of overhead heavy, whether that's strict press, push press, or split jerk. Some weeks will be barbell, some weeks will be dumbbell. So we'll work to 10 minutes, maybe a heavy double push jerk, And then after that, you'll finish with a quick finisher of an unbroken set of empty barbell press, dumbbell push press for bigger sets, something you can hang on for 20, 30 plus reps at a lighter weight with rest built in, so you can hold it unbroken there on that strength. Tuesday as well, we'll also work some heavy weighted strict pull-ups. It might be wide grip, it might be narrow grip, it might be supinated, so we'll vary how wide your hands are and then what grip you're taking, whether it's what we call strict pull-up, which would be pronated, or supinated on the strict chin-up. So we'll touch on that every week, and then we'll finish there as well, kind of like we did with the overhead work, with touching on some bigger unbroken strict pull-up sets. It'll be like 20 plus reps, so if you need to use a band on these, that's fine there, and we'll direct you with that. Wednesday, we're going to do some hang clean or full clean or power clean, either complex or cycled work. Similar to Monday, we're touching that snatch. Wednesday, we're touching the clean, just straight percentage sets, 5 sets, 2 to 3 reps, building and weight each week. And we'll get starting the hang and move towards the floor with some full squat and full power work there. After that, we do the cleans, then we'll either hit clean pull, snatch pull, or a deadlift, just a pull from the ground to work on that, to translate to Olympic lifts, and then making sure every few weeks we're touching a heavy deadlift, so we're keeping some of that strength we built earlier in this year. You'll finish Wednesdays with single leg work. That might be like single leg kettlebell, some single leg RDL, Bulgarian split squat, or another variation, along with some glute work with things like banded monster walks, glute bridges, but the focus then will be given a posterior chain finisher to target those glutes and hamstrings. Friday, I already told you what we're doing with the power lifts on Olympic lifting, the heavy front and back squats again, and then that day, I want to make sure you guys are hitting what we're calling knee health. This will just be things to try to keep our knees in check. They're going to get a little beat up through these 8 weeks with the squat volume and the load, so make sure you don't neglect that. You hit that. It's things like backward sleds walk, tempo squats, some knees over toes style things with that really can go a long way. Just make sure you're finishing those sessions with that. Finally, on Saturday, we got bench press and pull, so a little pump day. The bench press will vary barbell and dumbbell week to week. The rep range usually 5 to 10, so it'll be heavier, 4 to 5 sets of that. And then the rows will be a little bit more reps, more like 10 to 15 reps, 5 sets there as well. Will vary from barbell row, things like pendulum row, and also single arm dumbbell row. So each week will either be dumbbell or barbell, but I'll have some variance in there, so it's not the exact same every week, but working on some strength on the bench and then some volume pulling on that row. That's a big overview of what the strength is. It'll be a big focus every day. If strength's your number one thing, you want to get improvement on the cycle, start with the strength, and then you can hit the Metcon after. But if you're a super strength biased athlete, then start a lot of these days with the Metcon and getting used to the lifting under fatigue. A lot of people have done this here a long time, and then once it's in season and you're competing under fatigue with lifting heavy loads, it can help with that too. So keep that in mind based on what type of athlete you are. Our aerobic focus will be pretty simple. We did this last cycle, 8 weeks. We're in the middle of a 5K run or 20 minutes on the machine. So we test the 5K, retest it, or a machine, like you might be on a rower. How many meters can you get in that time domain? We want to improve that so it's a little bit longer. This one, we're going to pull it down to a 2K run or 8-minute machine. As we're getting closer to the season, we want the intensity to come up, and that's a really valuable time domain to be fit within. The 8 to 12 minutes will be a common theme. So same thing, if you did the running last one, I'd recommend you do the running this one to keep seeing improvement there. If you're on the rower, we see that a ton this season. Stay on the rower, you're going to see that, or the echo back or whatever you had. That way you can compare and see where you're getting fitter and improving on that machine. So Henshaw has that dialed up for us. We'll test, retest that distance or that time within that. We'll also have a little mini test within that. It'll be 2 minutes or so, and he'll tell you, he's done this in the past, based on how far or how much, how long it took you for the 2K or 8 minutes. We'll have within that 2 minutes how far you get will tell us if you're a power-based athlete or endurance-based athlete, just to kind of give you a gauge of, hey, this is what I need to work on and be thinking about if I need to work on more of my power output or just my longer aerobic endurance. Finally, for the gymnastics, Pamela's got us teed up with some core flexion and hip flexion work. With Tuesdays, we'll be really working on unbroken toe to bar and V-ups. So like how many toes to bar can we string together at once, and what's our max set on those, along with V-ups. And then Fridays, sometimes Saturdays, we'll alternate between ring push-ups and ring rows. So how many ring rows and ring push-ups can we get in a minute is that first thing we'll start with. And every week we'll do variations of pushing on the rings, pulling on the rings, to try to translate to see how many we can get in a minute. I'll move on to things that we'll see like ring muscle ups, our capacity there, capacity on the rig, and just pushing, pulling overall. If you were with us on session 2s, you follow compete, and you like going to semifinal games, track, same thing with masters, you'll see all of this. Your session 2s will have a lot of that aerobic work on Tuesdays and Fridays. We'll have a session 2 for you every day. Mondays will look similar like it has now. We've seen a lot of like lunging work on Mondays and sled. We'll still keep that. It'll be a big lower body day on Mondays. We'll pair that with maybe a gymnastic movement or a monostructural machine, depending on what the Metcons look that week. It'll be sets with rest built in, so you can do it with a partner. That way you can keep some intensity and it won't just be straight through always on that. Wednesdays we'll keep working on some lighter barbell cycling with machine work like we have been. We'll just lower that load and maybe increase the reps. And then the bike will kind of pull back on the distance and increase the intensity, similar to what we're doing with the aerobic cycle. And finally, on Saturdays, we're going to work on some hinging, some deadlift endurance, and there's not a lot of that in the strength itself. This will just be classic things you've seen in the past of intervals and sets of moderate to heavy load deadlifts with machine thrown in there, or simple movements like burpees, double unders, just to work on overall fitness, but with intervals to finish out that week there on that. So that's a lot. That's really in depth. That's what we're looking at from high level down in the nitty gritty of this cycle. It'll be, like I said, November, December, 8 weeks. And then as we get closer and closer to the season, it'll look more and more like pure CrossFit. You'll see the open, quarterfinals, semifinals games, depending on what kind of athlete you are and which track you are with. So that's what we have. Rich, when you were approaching your season, I know it's not the exact same if you're open quarterfinals or games, but still helpful to think about. When you're going November, December, this time of the year, getting in the open, maybe talk some about like how your training didn't totally change, but right as we get close to the season, it's starting to move a little bit. And then maybe how earlier in the open really mattered, what it looked like compared to later in your career when like the open was just pass almost to the next stage.
Yeah, I don't, the open, as lame as it sounds, was always pretty serious when I was doing it.
The open was fun.
No, it wasn't. The open's never been fun.
It was fun if it was all you had.
Yeah, maybe if all you had, but even when I, anytime I do any workout, everybody's going to look at it through a microscope. So I had to train at all times to be ready for anything, I guess. And, invitational was a little bit different, I guess, towards the later part of my individual career and then first part of team. So I was still training up until this point because the invitational was usually around the corner or had just happened. So for me, that was usually maybe never really had an off season.
When was the invitational? What month?
I don't really remember. Usually like November-ish, I thought.
So it'd been like this time.
Yeah, right around now. So maybe October, November. So, but, strength was definitely more of a focus this time of year. This is kind of where you build that base. You can also, or I did a lot of machine volume as well, because you can kind of, you're building a base with strength, you're building a base with the machines, but you're also not beating yourself up too much. We did a lot of barbell cycling this time of year, getting ready for, just trying to, work technique, work, as lame as it sounds, volume, like strength and volume, and then, or volume and strength, and then volume on machines. A little less pure CrossFit, more interval type stuff this time of year, and more of a, in November, December, there's a lot of family stuff, a lot of that type of stuff. So you don't want to miss out on too much of that. So be smart when you're doing that. Prioritize the things you need to hit. But for me, it was just, building a base aerobically while also still trying to build some strength, which sounds counterproductive at the same time. So you got to kind of be smart about that while you're doing it.
For sure. Yeah, that's kind of.
And what you're saying with, the the shorter duration machine type stuff makes sense, because you can still get some volume on machines doing it at high intensity and not affect your strength too much, as long as you keep that intensity pretty high, keep your rests pretty long, but work on some power output versus just pure long endurance.
Yeah, definitely. And this time of the year, as you get closer, kicking up that intensity. Foster, how do you think about that coming in now when you're programmed for someone with the style athlete they are? balancing because everyone, we won't just say if they're a, huge powerhouse on the barbell. Let's say they do want to get stronger and aerobically fitter at the same time as gaining strength. How do you balance the days and weeks of like, all right, let's try to work on these lifts along with working on improving this time domain aerobically?
Jeez, whatever Rich said.
You can use an example if it helps.
Yeah,
too.
I know that's hard. Just because there's so much variation there. I mean, that's concurrent training, right? When you're trying to balance multiple energy systems at the same time. But typically, like what we do, like all the individual coaches, is what Rich said, in the sense that we'll typically bias machines more, right? Because they don't beat you up as much. You don't have much, like, to use more fancy terminology, like eccentric loading, right? Like it's all concentric on the bike. You're just pushing down on the pedal. You can recover from it a lot easier. And then that way you can keep your strength, intensity / volume, whatever the person needs, higher either way. So we would bias machines. You want me to go into more detail than that?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, trying to think of a good example of
Give me
somebody.
one, like, let's say someone needs to get their squat up, front squat, back squat, just their squats not strong, and at the same time they need to improve on the rower.
Yeah, I mean, so I think that's the thing. Like traditionally in concurrent training, you would say that like you can't peak multiple energy systems at the same time. But what CrossFit has shown us is that you can get better at everything. I think the biggest factor in all that is really comes down to training age. Like the higher the training age you are, the less you can kind of get away with, right? So if like Rich was like, hey, I want to put 10 pounds on my back squat.
Not going to happen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's not going to be able to get away with as much additional aerobic training. Whereas like you get a newbie to the sport, they can get better at everything. So I think what we do on an individual level is like we just take it a step further is all we're doing. Like the principles don't change. We're just trying to look under the hood more and go, why is that individual not getting stronger in their squat, right? Like what is the actual limiter for them? Is it anterior, posterior chain, right? Is it quad strength? Is it rear chain that they need to get stronger at? Is it their core? Is it really none of those things and they're just really tired, right? And, if it's the individual who's really tired because they got too much going on in life or they're not recovering well for whatever reason, well, then that individual can't get away with as much aerobic work to begin with. So I know I'm like dancing around the question a little bit, but it's hard to give a concrete example.
Yeah, for sure. And that's where NPC comes into play, like if the longer you've been training, the harder it is going to be to see gains in certain areas without somebody really dialing in what you're doing. We use me as an example. Like I'm to the point, my goals have shifted completely. But if I was, I've been training for really 20 years, started working out in the living room as a kid. I mean, and at 15? So we're looking at 22 years of training. So like my training age is pretty high. So if I want to pick something to get, focus on and get better at, I'm going to either need a little bit of help. If I don't have that knowledge, I've got 22 years of knowledge where if I really wanted to like get stronger, I feel like I could figure out how to do it. But somebody that doesn't have the time and that's not their profession, they don't have an exercise science background, they haven't competed at a high level for 15, 20 years, then yeah, NPC will be a huge help to somebody that just, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm at, get to learn and know somebody, and they can really help you with their, give you fine tuning on, like we have the Mayhem Athletes stuff, which is kind of a blanket, is a really good program. What Jake just read off for 45 minutes, if you're still with us, anybody can get fit doing that, right? But if you really want to dial it in, hey, this is my goal, this is what I want to do, then go over to the other Jake and, have somebody really dial in, help you with nutrition, help you with sleep, help you manage some of the other stuff too.
Definitely. NPC being Mayhem Performance Coaching.
Sorry.
I like it. NPC.
Figured if they were
simple.
If they were here, they knew what NPC was, but Mayhem Performance Coaching.
Definitely. Yeah, that's so true too. If you're newbie, beginner, even been doing a CrossFit for a few years, you can definitely still see gains for compete.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Forever in theory. But if you want to go to the next level and see everything dialed in, as many gains in many areas as possible to reach your peak potential, then that's
if you have a specific goal that you are training for, like if you're, hey, I would like to make it to semifinals or quarters, 100% Mayhem Athlete, just using the compete would get you there. If you stuck to it and, depending on your age and all those types of things. But if you're like, hey, I want to go to the CrossFit Games, then you definitely want to lead more towards an NPC, or even like you have a specific event you want to train for. It's like you want to do a high rocks, or you want to do some of those other things that you could train really well, and it would help you do and compete. But if you have a specific goal or specific event, then
yeah, I think it's just prioritization. How much prioritization do you want to put into your training?
Mm-hmm.
Like, even just because like the big thing I always say, the way that I describe it for people, like, who is NPC for, is like for anybody who wants to compete at a higher level in the sport, and that could be from an open level athlete all the way up to the games. But how much do you want to prioritize it? And so I think what we're trying to do by doing these podcasts is like, hey, if you don't want that level of prioritization, like you don't want to take that next step and get something individualized, let's have conversations about how you can compete and tweak things for yourself so that you can optimize it still for yourself. Like, let's give you those tools without having to hire an individual coach if that's what you don't want to do. Yeah. So that's kind of the point of this, right? So.
Yeah, definitely. So if you're just it's built for the avatar athlete of like, you kind of want to improve everything, because we got to have everything in there for everyone to improve. So if you're just, I want to improve all my fitness, then you show up each day, open the app, Mayhem Athlete, and you start Monday and you go. Depending on, hey, I want to make open quarterfinals, you follow that track. I just got 60 minutes, you go to Mayhem 60. If I would just want to get strong and that's it, and I'm just focused on that for a year, go to Mayhem Bergener Strength, and then you don't have to think about it. That's the nice thing.
Even if all right, I want to be better CrossFitter all around, but I know strength is my weakness. So what I would do is I would look at where the strength is, and it usually corresponds with Bergener Strength. So instead of just doing kind of the high level, like you were talking about, the 5x3, 5x3, in Bergener Strength, it's 10x3, 5x3. So if you want to improve your front squat and back squat, do this next little progression. And if squatting is a weakness and it's something that, you've got the time for, hit the actual Bergener Strength version of this. It sucks, but it'll it got a super strong, what was that, 3 years ago? 2021, It's based off of that. And so what I come back to is, all right, so I'm going to prioritize the Bergener Strength, and then I'm going to go to compete and get my Metcons, right? Well, then on the flip side, all right, strength is already something that I'm pretty good at. What I could do is hit the compete workouts, hit the strength in there, and then look at aerobic capacity. And you can kind of plug and play a little bit based on what your fitness is. We always get a lot of there's just too much, I don't know where to start. So it's like, is that really a problem, that there's too much that you don't know what to do? So, but yeah, just think about it like that, kind of plug and play.
Yeah, definitely. That's what, like, probably 4 to 5 days a week, start with kind of what you suck at.
Yeah, or if you want to say, hey, grunt work stuff's what I suck at, Everyday Hero. Angelo has a ton of stuff in there that's grunt work and just kind of just move sandbags, move your weight, that type of thing.
That's good stuff to do if strength is an issue.
100%.
Right? Like,
yep. You don't have to do your traditional lifts all the time.
Loaded carries, yeah, like a lot of the odd object movements and stuff like that. Like, that'd be great to pair with some of the strength work. And then we have a plot, like, if anybody had questions about how could I individualize Mayhem compete for myself, like how can I make these tweaks, and then like very specific questions, like just go in the Facebook group. Is that the best?
Yeah, you go Facebook group. We get those emails commonly. I've answered a lot over the years. Facebook group, or just programs@mayhemnation.com. Tell them, hey, Jake mentioned this. They'll kick the email my way, and I'll answer it myself. Those general guidelines and principles Rich and Foster mentioned are what I tell people, and people follow them for off season, just Bergener Strength, and put 20 pounds in their lifts. Then they get and follow just compete in season, so they're peaking for that quarterfinal, semifinal. It works really well, especially for strength. Or Rich mentioned with conditioning, those are the two most common. If you're conditioning, you follow the Metcon first every day. You might pull back some on the strength, like if you're a guy back squatting 500 pounds, and you probably don't need 10 sets every Monday and Friday. You might pull back some of that volume, hit all the Metcons, and then layer on some extra conditioning from aerobic capacity on those, depending on the day and time. But in general, that's what you can do. Look at aerobic capacity and like, oh, they got this extra ski cycle. One day a week I can pull that over and hit on my Thursdays, or whatever it might be for you individually. But you can definitely add in the aerobic work on top, because it's not going to beat you up as much for the intensity on the next day too.
Rich, you don't mind texting a few people some specific questions, right? If we get
no, 100%. Here's my number. It's just kidding.
Yeah,
sorry, guys. Just shoot them a tag. We'll do a group. Yeah, we can do a group chat.
Yeah. Get that out there for all you guys. So yeah, that'd be strength if that's your weakness. If aerobic, that's it. And then gymnastic wise, Tuesday, Friday with the Mayhem gymnastic work. Start with that. We're gonna have gymnastic Metcons in there really commonly. Frequently, really. And then if you go to what's Rich doing, Rich is still doing a good bit of gymnastics there. There's going to be a lot included.
A lot of just junk in there.
Yeah, there's
either really good or it's really bad. Some days they're both.
That's just a good cherry pick track, really.
Yep.
You did one. That was a good example of the bike total bar you did a couple days ago.
20, 30, 20.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready for Amarillo, so I have to do some CrossFit.
Oh, that's right. You and Dre.
Me and Dre versus Ben and Seth. And I'm not in any type of CrossFit shape. I'm pretty good, like, slow, grindy shape, you know. I've been elk hunting the past month. And then
Dre's not in shape, though, either.
That whole, like, 2 days in the hospital really affected my fitness, too, so.
Dre's, like, always fit.
I know. It's Dre fit.
Yeah, Dre fit.
Yeah.
Suffer fit.
You know the workouts?
I can't.
Did you program them, I mean?
Yeah, we all did, kind of. It was like a group effort.
You programmed the workouts?
Yeah. It doesn't
handicap.
matter. How's that a handicap? It's still, like,
give them a handicap.
They're just CrossFit. The one, I don't know if I'll be able to power snatch 135. We'll see what happens. My shoulder. That's the one movement that still kills my shoulder.
What's the power snatch workout?
It's a kind of a play off of an old regional workout. It's 20 rope climb split. You go to 2 separate machines, 40 cals, one on ski, one on row. You can switch machines if you want to, but there's really no point. And then 60 power snatches at 135.
Dre will be good at that workout.
I'll help. Make him ski.
Definitely. Yeah, 2021. I do remember that. I did the squat cycle too. That was hellacious. Like, that was when you and Luke were doing it and taking like an hour to get through the squats for a very long time.
It wasn't like an hour, but it was a long time.
Warm up.
Because the percentages were like, they're high. They got high.
They were even higher than they are now.
Oh, really?
We want you guys to finish it. It was like dang near impossible.
I forgot what I ended. I don't even know if I ever even tested, but it just felt like
we all didn't max, but the quarterfinal was that 4-rep front squat. So like, oh, this is perfect.
I hit like 388 or something on a 4-rep front squat. 387, sorry.
Scott.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right. And then you had to hit it again for team.
Yeah, I hit it again for team,
That was a good quarterfinals.
That's the year I did all the individual semifinals, thinking they were going to, or quarterfinals, thinking they were all going to be different. And then a week later, we did all the same workouts.
That was awesome.
A lot of variation there, CrossFit.
I don't know if it was new or just awesome workouts, but I love that quarterfinals.
It was a good quarterfinal.
For sure.
The first time. Second time it sucked. It was when Luke got sniped off the top of the box. No. Sniped off the snatch, right? Yeah. He was snatching just bloop. It's like 975, 185, and box jump overs with 30 or something like that.
Burpee box jump over or something?
Burpee box jump overs?
I think so.
Yeah.
That's right. Luke was just making semifinals in. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. How you touched on that. So this will carry through Thanksgiving, Christmas. We intentionally end it before Christmas. So, like, everyone's traveling, family. Like, we don't want you feel like you have to get in every workout. And then Thanksgiving week, we'll tee it up so, like, you guys can obviously have Thanksgiving, and then Friday, Saturday, we'll format it for that. But how do you still trained a lot through Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, I was also an outlier in the fact that anywhere I walk in this 160 acres, I can be within a gym in about 200 yards. So, it's a little bit different for me. You're just going to have to prioritize your time, either get up a little bit early or do whatever you need to do to spend time with family, or drag your family into a workout. That's what, as my kids have gotten older, I posted a video yesterday. Kids were down here. I was just out here kind of messing around for about an hour, and the kids were down here shooting bows and working out, and Violet made up her own workout. She didn't like mine, wasn't good enough for her, so she just kept adding things to it. So
also that I like that.
It's even if it's just getting a sweat in or whatever it is, at least you're doing something. You're not going to lose fitness in a day or two, no matter how bad you feel. But hey, if it's run out, get up 30 minutes early and just go on a little 5K run or 30-minute run, something like that. It's better than nothing if that's what you want to do, if it's going to help you be able to be present wherever you're at. For me, I have to do that. I have to get out some energy. I have to get a little bit of a sweat on, or I'm not present wherever I'm at. I'm like, I need my hit, So I've just learned, and luckily Hillary's learned over the years, that if just let him go and do his thing for 30, 45 minutes, then it's going to be better for everybody else. So do what you need to do. If you want to take a rest day or two, take a rest day or two. Carb up on Thanksgiving and then burn it all out on Friday or Saturday, whatever it is. So
Thanksgiving's easy. It's Thursday, active recovery.
Yeah. Thursday's our
traveling
recovery day anyway.
So whole weekend, that is where it gets tougher.
Yeah, so, it's do what you need to do and try to enjoy it as much as you can.
Yeah, definitely. And Friday, Saturday, you're traveling. Don't overstress it. But if you're just at home, just wake up earlier, go to the gym, work out, and get back, spend the day with them. and don't overstress.
There's a lot of M30 options in there. You know, we have M30 if you're on Mayhem Athlete. You know, they're actually some really hard workouts. Anytime that I've been traveling and didn't have a gym or only had a dumbbell or something, they're some pretty nasty workouts in there.
They get after it for sure, no doubt. The only other thing on that made me think of is if you are, especially when I was doing competing, like much lower level, I would always freak out if I was lifting a lot that I was going to lose all my fitness. Mm-hmm. That's such a common fear, especially that if you were working on your strength, like I'm going to lose all my being good at Metcons or being good at this movement, but you like can't think about that in a cycle like this. Like if you need to work on your squats, and that's a priority every day, you can't be doing 3 Metcons on top of your squats every day and get stronger. So be okay to hit all that strength with all the intensity and intent you can, hit some Metcons on every day or even some days, and know like you maintaining that level of fitness is totally fine, or a little baby step back for 3 steps forward on either your squat or how well you're doing your power snatch or power clean will pay dividends later on. You'll get that fitness back super quick.
Listen to your body too, because, you know, you are going to get pretty beat up doing this. So,
yeah, the biggest risk would be under recovering, whether you're not getting enough sleep, stress in life, or please don't undereat during the cycle. Another thing would be your CNS. If your central nervous system is getting cooked from
some sleep,
the volume, you got to sleep more, mitigate the stress elsewhere in life as much as you can, and then just enjoy the training. That will also take stress off the training. But if you're getting super stressed elsewhere and those loads are feeling too heavy, that's where you either might have to pull it back sometime on the weights or just pull back the total volume and sets on that so it is sustainable throughout. Because I know I'm listening more now with Sean and you guys, like you think about individually and collectively, like you've got to be able to fill your cup every day because you're taking out some of that cup with the training. So if it's empty, you're not going to have much bring to training. So make sure filling that cup by eating well, eating enough, sleeping every night, mobilizing, recovering, and then having rest days and then fulfillment outside your training.
Yeah,
with
to
that.
piggyback on what Sean says and what Rich is saying, like how do you fill your cup? Well, if it's the holiday season, like time spent with family that's how you do it. Like there's actually a lot of research around that, like having healthy relationships, having laughter and time with family, like play and fun, like that's actually incredibly beneficial for stress management. So
and watching the Lions win, hopefully.
Yeah.
Even though last year they didn't.
That wasn't healthy for me.
Oh, that wasn't healthy. But
speaking of Rich,
you got a regular season revenge.
Yeah. Well, I also got like a firsthand, like with Rich skipping a workout day because we're heading back on the flight. And I mean, we've had the whole day flying to Detroit.
Yeah, we flew
right back
at like 6 a.m., watched the game.
We sat in the runway for a couple hours too.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting there and Rich is just like twitching really hard. Like his hands are shaking. And I look over and I'm like, bro, you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm good. I just haven't worked out today. I'm like, does that happen? Is that all the time?
He's like, it is.
Yeah.
Addict.
It's a problem.
It really is. It is a problem.
Hey, real problem.
Hand twitch before?
Scott's usually been around me when I've at least done something.
You're just hitting your knees and you couldn't stop shaking.
Was this pre-game or after game?
It was post-game.
Post-game.
Yeah.
I thought that might have taken out your system. Scott, Ben, any input from the...
Yeah, let me plug up real quick. No. You got anything? No.
Ben, you usually go pretty hard in the paint. Some off season at least. You love putting pounds on your squat and Olympic lifts.
Dude, yeah. Every time I do a strength cycle, a Bergener strength cycle, my body just loves it. I don't know why.
You do get strong.
My numbers go way up really fast.
You pull back on. You still do Metcons though, right? Or do you pull back?
Usually,
on
yeah. I don't do Metcons. You said something like don't be afraid to like take a step back on your fitness you're gonna lose. I'm not ever worried about losing fitness. I'm worried about getting fat. That is the only thing I'm worried about because I'm already like kind of chubby. So like I don't want to pull back on Metcons. That's why I did that 6-week Oli cycle, and dude, I was feeling heavy, and so
really strong though.
I got really strong, but dude, I had to chill out.
Weren't you squat clean like 370 or something?
It was 380.
Yeah, it was. What'd you weigh?
Actually, not much more to do now, like 210-ish maybe.
Okay,
around that.
Not terrible. You're a great example of getting strong, but your fitness
How
comes
old are
back
you?
super fast.
28.
It's getting close. He may have peaked.
I told him he can
I've not
never.
peaked.
Strength-wise, maybe.
Dude, I can hit 400 in 6 weeks from today.
You said that like last year.
In 2 years from now, I'll hit 400 if I go for it.
My 28. I think that was the year I hit like 307 and 390 clean and jerk.
Well, it's 380.
No, it's 390. I hit 390 at some point in the barn.
Well, video or didn't happen.
Okay, didn't happen.
Was this in Mike McGoldrick? Or was this another?
I don't remember if it was that time. I hit 390 at some point, clean and jerk.
I think training age is huge. I think that's what you were alluding. I mean, look at we talked about Seth a lot in the last podcast, but like we just watched him PR power snatch last week, 2 weeks ago,
butter.
right? And he's just doing
250.
a crap ton of aerobic work, but mostly machines, right? But I mean, that just doesn't happen for most people with the volume he's doing right now too, in his aerobic work. So, training age is incredibly important. Like, more important than biological age, right? Because you can have a really low training age at 40,
and make some big leaps.
Yeah.
Training age, barbell years. That's how I can describe it. That reminds me, Mayhem Masters, yours will look similar, but not the exact same because you've been training a long time, especially you're in your 40s later. Like, you're not going to put a ton of pounds on these lifts, so we'll keep that in mind with volume and lifts and just expectations going in. If you've been doing CrossFit 5 to 10 years and you have 15, 20 years of training age, and we're probably not PRing a lot, but we can still maintain that strength, and that's kind of the game you guys are playing there within the same structure of training. So we'll work with Coach Mike on that and make sure y'all's strength is appropriate within everything else we're doing. I look a little bit different on some days with that. So that is Nerves of Steel.
10-4.
All right, we'll see you guys November. Let's get stronger and build some Nerves of Steel. Thank you for your time.
Peace.